Lizzie?
She's at the SPCA. They're doing a faith.
All right, I guess we're going to get moving because we're 5 minutes late. I just wanted to welcome everyone, and my name is Stephanie. I am the market master for the City Market and the Penn Park Market, which is the market at Penn Park, and Farmers in the Park and Mead, as well as the Holiday City Market for those. I see a lot of new faces. This is Lucy, my assistant, and up here we have Will Bassett, who is the marketing supervisor for the Parks and Recreation, and then next to him in the white is Brian Daly, the director of Parks and Recreation.
Good morning.
No, he doesn't want to. So, anyway, thank you for coming. I'm sorry, I don't know if you came. I hope that we didn't have too many that came last week. My family was ill, so we weren't able to do it last week. So, I'm sorry, Frankie, because I saw you on the way to the ER. So, anyway, thanks for coming. First of all, I'm just going to talk about how the markets did this year. Most of the reserve vendors know that it did really well. This year in the city market, we had almost 300,000 over last year in sales, which was pretty big. It was almost 1.5 million in reported sales. That's the sales that the vendors reported. So it was a good year. Last year we closed down a street and added 16 more vendors, which had a lot to do with the sales increase. But it was an excellent year, and we hope that this year is going to be just as good. And then we're going to talk about the midweek markets. The first one I want to talk about is Penn Park. Penn Park is our newest market. It started last year. It had a great start. We had over 54,000 reported sales for that market, which is really great for the first year of any market. It's just a lovely location. It's beautiful, and it's really convenient as far as the kids, the playground. It's really a great market. So if any of you are interested in a midweek market, I really think Penn Park is going to do great. Sure.
Any possibility of electricity at the Penn Park Market?
Janet asked if there was any possibility of electricity at the Penn Park Market. I don't think so. But I probably would have to refer to someone else for that answer. And the reason, I'll tell you why I think that it's not possible. Because we are set up along the outside of the park. You're familiar?
Yeah.
You live right there. So it's not like we're right next to the bathroom, and I'm not even sure. Yeah, they have electricity in the bathroom, but so I don't know. I wouldn't say absolutely not, because I would have to ask and find out the possibility, but I'm thinking probably not so much. And next we're going to talk about Farmers in the Park. Farmers in the Park is our Wednesday market, and we started that in 2007. It had a great year. We had over 85,000 in reported sales this year for Farmers in the Park. And I also, on the table, I have all of these reports if y'all want to take one home. So that's 21,000 over last year at that park.
What day of the week
That's Wednesday?
was the other one Wednesday also?
No, that was Tuesday. Something very important that I didn't say about Penn Park. Penn Park is our market that is kind of similar to the city market in that we have everything there. We have crafts and food and vegetables and plants and everything. Whereas Farmers in the Park, it's farmers and food. That's it. There's no crafts. So we have a great year there. And the last one we have is the holiday market. The holiday market last year moved the city market parking lot on Water Street. It was an incredible, sensational move. The holiday market in the past was held on the downtown mall. We've been moved up and down the mall. But we finally ended right in front of City Hall, which really wasn't a great location because no one's down there on Saturday. So we moved last year to this city market parking lot. Of course, last year was kind of a weird year because we had inches and inches of snow. So we actually didn't have all of our markets. The last market was completely shut down. So, but this year we had over 97,000 reported sales for the holiday market. And the year before, just to give you an idea, the year before, which we only had three and a half markets pretty much because of snow, it was 40,000. So it was huge. And a lot of people really felt like it was slow, but it wasn't slow compared to what we're used to. So it was great. And our holiday markets runs through December, this Saturday before. So anyway, I think I've run through that pretty quickly. If you have any quick questions? Nope. All right. Let's move along then. Advisory board vote. Lucy, do we have that? Are you done? All right. Well, sorry. How about we move on then? We'll do Judy Berger now, and then we'll do advisory board vote.
Morning, everybody. I'm Judy Berger. I'm the Community Nutrition Manager at JABA. And this past year, you all cooperated in implementing EBT into the farmers market, and I just want to thank you all for working through the kinks with us. I'd also like to thank Seal Gorham, who was a project manager, who did a fantastic job in getting things together so that we could make it happen. The EBT, for most, does anybody not know what the EBT is? Do I need to explain? Okay, electronic benefit transfer. It's a service that is provided by USDA for SNAP benefits, which are food stamps, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Okay, so for low-income folks, they can now come and swipe their SNAP card at the market. They get tokens that they can spend on fresh produce and stuff like that. So it's a nice way. This is why it's important to JABA. We want low-income folks of all ages to be able to have access to healthy, nutritious food. And we think it works well to put money back in your pockets into the local economy while they're doing that. So the other advantage of EBT is that folks with debit cards can swipe their cards and get a different kind of token to spend, a $5 token, and they take that around and spend it with you too. And it was really neat last year because we actually had people coming up going, oh my God, I ran out of cash and I just found this item that I wanted and I'm going to buy it because I don't have to go to a cash machine. I can come get the tokens and buy it right now. So the sales that we had from the EBT and the debit cards combined was $26,000 this year. So that's above and beyond what you would have seen because it was a new service. The debit portion, we brought in 20,000, I think, more like 22 or 23,000 came from the debit purchases. The SNAP was about $1,900, which tells you we need to reach out to low-income folks a little more, and we're going to do that this year. And then we still have outstanding tokens of about $2,000 or $3,000. So you'll be seeing those come back again this year. As you know, you can give change for the debit tokens, the green $5 tokens. You can give cash change, but you don't give change for the SNAP tokens. What they don't spend, they can come back at the end of the day and put back on their card so they can use it during the week at a grocery store. We also received a grant from Wholesome Wave Foundation that gave us $7,000 to use as matching dollars, double voucher coupons. A lot of you saw the little dollar coupons that came through. We only went through about $2,000 of those this year, so we still have $5,000 for those coupons to be spent this year. So that's an additional $5,000 that will go in your pocket. And we also have the local currency. Some of you all have seen the card stock dollar local currency that comes through. We give those to folks who don't receive SNAP benefits, but what we call the working poor. In other words, they may not be eligible for food stamps, but we know that they still need help getting good meals to their families. And we have a lot of sponsors coming to the table this year to give us thousands of dollars to support that program. So it's just more money that's going to go in your pocket. So, it's a great program for everybody, and I appreciate everybody working with us to get it implemented. If there's ever any confusion, just speak up and say, I don't understand, and we'll explain it to you. If you get frustrated with us, come and yell at us. We're okay with that because we know it's frustrating and we want it to be a good program and we want it to be convenient for you. So what I would like to do today is just get some feedback from you. I've got my notebook to take some notes, ways that we can improve the system. I'm open to hearing what your suggestions are. Comments, good and bad. Yes?
So, question. So the people that receive these benefits, do they reach out to you or do you reach out to them?
Both. We have clients that receive services from JABA that we give some cards to. We have nurses over in a lot of the low-income neighborhoods who provide services. They distribute a lot of the local currency, excuse me. And then we work with DSS and social services and the health department to try to get the word out about the SNAP. We're going to do a pretty big campaign this year because a lot of people just didn't know about it. Yes?
Is it going to be available at the Wednesday and Tuesday market?
Well, actually, Brian and I were just talking about that last night. I'm working on it. My first choice is to do the meat market, simply because it is surrounded by some low-income areas. Penn Park is a little bit different. So we have to make sure that we want this to be sustainable. We have to bring in enough money to pay somebody to do it. Okay, so the bank charges and things, after all that gets paid for, your 6% slot fee helps to pay that person to run those, to run the EBT machine and do the financing. JABA's been cutting the checks. We're sort of absorbing that cost. And on a weekly basis. So if we can work it out, and we can have the staff to do it, or if somebody wants to volunteer to do it, let me know. Yes?
What if you didn't sign up for the debit card thing yet, but you end up with a token?
Turn them in at the end of the
So
day.
it doesn't matter, you
No.
just sign in whenever.
No. And we had a lot of people start participating. Some folks were like, I don't want to deal with it because it was kind of confusing. And then somebody come up with $100 worth of debit cards, and they're like, oh God, I can't turn down $100. Okay, I'll do it, And that's fine. We want you to do it at your pace. We want you to be comfortable with it. Yes?
You've got a problem with your $5 tokens.
Okay.
Somebody buys a $6 item from me and gives me 2 tokens.
Okay.
I settle up with you with 2 tokens for $10. You charge me tax and space fee on $10, not my $6 sale.
Oh, that's a good point. That's an excellent point. Okay, so we have to figure out a way.
But on the thing you do are total sales minus the tokens, and then the tokens,
No, but then the JABA charges us, they charge it on the number of tokens, and the check comes in, is that?
There is a bank fee for every transaction that we have to pay. But that's most of that's paid for. When the debit person swipes their card, they're charged a $1 fee. And that $1 fee covers the bank charges for those users and for
Right,
the
but what he's
SNAP.
saying is also happens with me, because mine is an odd figure item, I sell something for $7, it's not 2 tokens, they give me they give me 2 tokens, $10, and I give them $3 back.
Right.
But then
We're charging
submitted
tax on
$10
$10 rather than. All right, so I need to communicate with Stephanie to find out your total sales,
Yeah.
so that we're not charging you more than what you're actually selling.
But it kind of, eventually for me.
Well, I'm
it
sorry,
kind-
just wanted. Yeah.
Eventually for me, it kind of blends in,
Okay.
because for Stephanie, I put in $3 less, right? Like
Right.
it goes out of the market, $3 goes out of the market, right? Because I've submitted $10 to you.
Right.
I've submitted less $3 to her. It kind of nets out in terms of 6%.
Right, yeah, but for
it's just,
Yeah, it might not be exact though, and if it's an issue with you and you're realizing that that's happening, we need to figure out a good accounting way to handle it.
One of the things that one of the other markets does that also gives out tokens is we report sales on one report and we turn in tokens they'll charge us on the sales by what token we can add.
Okay, we can talk to Stephanie about that, where she pays all of your taxes, and then I don't take anything out for taxes. We can figure out an easy way to do that. All right, I promise we'll figure out an easy way to do it. Well, we have to figure out a way to do it, because it needs to work right for you all.
Eventually, accounting-wise, it's the same. For me, from what I have seen in my accounting, it's the same because I just report $3 less to Stephanie and
Right.
I report $10 to you, and it's the same 6% that
Right.
comes out.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, in other
Stephanie's
words,
getting less money
what you
back
give
to me.
Stephanie, you're paying your 6% or your tax on. What you're giving me, you're paying your 6% or your tax on.
Right.
So it's, but let me think about that and work with Stephanie and talk to our finance guy and see if he has an idea, because that's a really good point. I want to make sure it's accurate. Yes?
Is it too difficult to give them $5 $1 tokens?
Um,
Or create a dollar token?
well, the dollar token is what we use for the SNAP. The problem is that we really do get people coming up, they generally swipe for around $100.
Right.
And so it makes a real handful. We want it to make it convenient for the customer so they spend their money. So let me just work on that. Let me stew over it and see what we can come up with. Did you have another question?
Well, I'm with the young woman who
Disha.
sells the Indian food.
Disha?
When you report your total sales, you do your total sales minus your tokens, and then you pay Stephanie what the minus of the tokens. So if you have $100 in total sales, $10 of it is tokens, you're paying Stephanie 90, and then you're on the 90, and then
And then you're,
JABA's taking out
yeah,
the
so
10,
in the end
so
it
comes
should,
out.
it
Is
should,
that what it
yeah,
is?
it should balance out. But let me
It's just
think,
Stephanie's
get through.
getting less money. That's
Yeah.
the whole matter.
All right.
Sorry, Steph.
Sorry about that.
Any other questions or suggestions? Is anybody not comfortable talking here? I can give you my business card and you can call me at work. I just want to make sure that you guys are comfortable enough that you want to keep, does everybody want to keep going with this program?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to add that we actually did take the tokens at Farmers in the Park last year.
And if they redeem them, we'll
You
take
just couldn't, we didn't have a machine there where people could actually get them there.
Right.
But if someone had tokens from Saturday, especially if it was a vendor who does Saturday and Wednesday, we took them all year.
Right. And now, if we end up having a machine at the Wednesday market, what we'll probably do is have you turn your tokens in once a week. Otherwise, I'm in a check-cutting frenzy and my finance department will kill me. So, and a lot of people said, well, I can't wait a week
That
to get
messes
the
up
money.
my bookkeeping, so we're going to have to figure that out too.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll talk about that. A lot of folks, when we first started, said, why can't I wait a week for the money? Well, once the checks start coming in, you get a check every week. So it's only the first week that you're actually waiting for the money. So, any other input? Speak now. Forever hold your token. Yes.
I really appreciated this program and think that you're doing a great job bringing it all
Oh,
to
thank
work.
you.
And it was really great to have people come around and sort of come into contact with my product. I could see them doing it with other people's products as well, and realizing that they could afford it through the SNAP program was really great.
Thank you. All right.
The debit card was also very helpful. I mean, I saw a lot of customers who were like, oh, I'm out of cash, and then you would tell them, hey, go to that red. I think you should kind of mark that tent in a different color or something.
Okay.
Where we can tell them, hey, what I used to tell them is, hey, do you see that red tent opposite that building where
And then they come to
Stephanie
me.
is? And you can find that's
Right.
where the debit card is. But if you could mark it differently, so
Okay.
that you could tell people in the market, hey, this is where you need to go. That would
Right.
be really
Here's your cash machine.
yeah, right. That's where you put a board, do something that
Okay.
would tell people that you're taking debit cards.
Very good. Yes, ma'am.
So you can put a banner right there at your,
Yeah, right now our
Right
banner
there.
only says SNAP benefits.
Right.
a
Right.
banner that says, you need more cash? This
Yeah.
is the place to come.
Yeah. Money man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anybody who has like a semi-higher dollar item, it's
Yeah.
just been key to be
Oh,
able to
good.
let people go,
Yeah.
know that they can go.
Well, and I've had vendors come to me and say, this happened. I sold an $80
Yeah.
item today because that person walked across and got the token.
And they
And I wouldn't have sold it otherwise.
This was very good. They did go and then they came back. I saw a lot of them
Right.
come back. This was very good.
Yeah, well, once they have the tokens,
Right. Yeah, they have to spend them, that's
Right.
another thing.
Yeah, and Kathy's going to talk to you later about gift certificates that we can sell, and they redeem them for tokens. Or if you have friends who just want to buy tokens and give them out as gifts for Christmas or something. I mean, it's a great way to get people continuing to come to the market. Okay? That it? Thanks, you guys. Great.
Thanks, Judy.
I'm moving today.
Good luck. Here. We have, for our farmers, we have Laura Dollard, we have John Whiteside, and Sam Goen. And if you're here, can you stand up so people, I've been having a lot of people not knowing who you are. So, which was why I made everyone name tags last year, but didn't see many of them. This is Sam Goen, John Whiteside, and Laura in the back in the red. Now, food vendors, we have, again, the donut guy, and everyone knows the donut guy, right? So, do I need to make him stand up? Actually, new people don't know the donut guy. This is Tom Cervelloni, otherwise known as the donut guy. And then we have Kathy Zentgraf, right here. Greenies. Our artisans, we have Jeff Miller and Mark Churchill. All right. Thank you, everyone, for voting. And we're moving really well today. Brian, you're on.
Actually, I'm going to ask, since what I want to talk about and have a conversation today about is the City Market Task Force and the future location of the market and all of that, which is probably on top of everybody's mind. I'm going to ask Will to talk about the marketing of the market and what our intentions are for this year a little bit before we get into the stuff that might take a while.
I'll be brief since that's the main event. My name is Will Bassett. I'm the Business and Marketing Manager for the Department of Parks and Recreation. And the 2011 marketing plan is going to look very similar to the 2010 plan. We had a pretty successful plan last year. We do have a little bit of changes for this year. But first, I'll just recap what we do marketing-wise. We market with a wide variety of both paid and non-paid advertising, public relations, direct mail, and we also advertise within our Parks and Recreation system as well, in our customer database there. We do a wide variety of publications and advertising that captures both the local residents and tourists and just people kind of visiting the community, as well as just hitting the regular customers again and again and capturing new people who might have moved to town who have not heard of the market yet. We utilize the City of Charlottesville's advertising contracts a lot to get negotiated rates, which are considerably lower than what the general rates are for the advertising that we do place out there. So that really helps us stretch the marketing budget there for that. For FY12, fiscal year 12, which would start on July 1 of this year, the proposed budget, if approved, would have a 20% increase in the marketing advertising budget line item for the markets. So that would be an increase of from $10,000 to $12,000 there. So that would greatly help with that there. We've also renegotiated some of our ad rates in some of our prime publications that we do a lot of advertising in, and those rates have come down. So the good news for 2011 is we're going to have more ads, larger ads, and just a lot more visibility out there on a more frequent basis there. We also have a new ad campaign that's under development right now with one of our advertising firms, design agencies that we have under contract under Parks and Recreation, and the new ads are going to really just help stand out a lot more visibility, and hopefully drive a lot more traffic to the markets there. Those should be implemented in time for the first market in April, and those will sustain all the way through the year there. We'll continue all the marketing that we do within Parks and Recreation system. We have a magazine that goes out 3 times a year. You all have a full-page ad in there. That's no cost out of the budget line item. That's just absorbed underneath Parks and Recreation. That goes to 10,000 households each time that goes out there. We also include the markets a lot with email blasts to all of our databases there. So we're hitting a lot of people regularly there. So that's kind of it for 2011. Not a whole lot of changes there, but I'm open to any questions, suggestions, comments, anything you'd like to know. Yes, sir.
In late summer, early fall, when Stephanie sees sales start falling off, does she give you a ring and say, hey, we need to hit it, let them know we're still here and alive and kicking?
Absolutely, and she does, and we do communicate regularly. We look at numbers weekly, and there's some stuff that we have contractually locked up, and there's a lot of stuff that we can move. We'll hold advertising if sales are doing really well, and we'll divert it to a later time of year. Absolutely, the contracts are set up in a way that we can make it very fluid and stuff like that. And we do that a lot with other Parks and Recreation stuff too. We see that this area of Parks and Recreation needs a little bit of help, so we need to move it from another area and boost that up. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I was curious if, it sounds like you're doing a great job with the different ad development and ad agencies, and I was curious if you or Stephanie have thought more about identity marketing, specifically with the logo, that would be more specific to the city market. I know you've thought about it before and haven't been able to move forward with it, but right now, for example, like on the vendor application and all the ads, we get the official city emblem, which I don't really think speaks to our identity of who we are as a fresh market of produce, snacks, and food.
That's certainly an excellent point. We've discussed this before. I think it's something that we'll go back to the table and discuss again. We're kind of in this situation where we're Parks and Recreation underneath the city of Charlottesville. We have Parks and Recreation logo now. We have our identity of a department. Then we have all these divisions underneath Parks and Recreation. And then under the markets, you have City Market, Farmers in the Park, that kind of stuff there. So I think that's a discussion I'll certainly have with Mr. Daly. There's the new Charlottesville Parks and Recreation logo. We're kind of moving away from the city seal. We're working on a color palette for that. That's just kind of the black and white version there. So in general, we're moving away from that official city seal of, here's something from the city of Charlottesville. What do they want now? That kind of stuff there. We're trying to make it a little more fun and inviting, stuff like that. But it's kind of what we're taking a look at is are we mixing some messages there? But it's certainly we've talked about that. And I think we'll definitely go back to the drawing table and discuss this a little bit more to make sure that we're not confusing customers of whether is it City of Charlottesville, is it Parks and Recreation, is the market, and is the markets which ones and stuff like that.
One of the things that we're attempting to do with this is to present an image across all of our services.
Yeah, turn sideways on it.
How did that happen?
It's an iPad.
Well, it's not an iPad, but apparently it is now. This is effectively our quote brand. It's gradually getting implemented into all of our uniforms and all of our staff apparel, all of our publications, all of our advertising, etc. I think having a logo or a brand for the markets, not necessarily just the Saturday market, but all of the markets is a good idea. It's something we can discuss with our designers.
And I mean, we have a lot of super talented people that if you help sort of like content for the logo or something, but I think what he's saying is that the Saturday market does want its own image and logo and identity. Is that kind of what you're pointing to?
I mean, I think it's really important for just giving the market identity. Like, for example, we did a farm T-shirt with all our co-sponsors on it, and we did all, Harrisonburg Market and Local Food Hub and all the different groups we work with. And when it came to the city market, I was like, I'm not putting the city seal on my T-shirt. It's like, it didn't represent our farm in that relationship, and I just felt like there was a disjunct there where, I want to support that and feel that identity.
Sure. And step one is we're moving away from the city seal because, even just in general, us Parks and Recreation, we're into fun and a lot of outdoors and recreational classes and stuff like not the traditional city seal there. So that's the first step that we moved there, and we can certainly take a look at like Brian said, we'll take a look at, how that would structurally and organizationally work within the department of creating another logo or brand.
And if somebody's specifically interested in doing that, or working on it in a small team on a short-term basis to do something like that, email Stephanie directly with your desires and intentions, and we'll get a group together.
I was just going to say that that's wonderful that you created that logo, but I would also say that the city market produces a ton of revenue for the city, and it should be a priority. It shouldn't be something that we're thinking about or we'd be open to. It should be created, and if we can accomplish it this year, it'd be really good.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, I as a producer don't feel like when I see that is, I think of the city of as waterworks, parks, but so I want to reiterate too what everyone else has said. The farmers markets need something that is, has to do with, what we're doing. The market's growing, production, whatever. But because whenever I think of a city thing, I think of, I think of the water company, I think of City Hall, these things.
Plowing snow.
Roads and sure.
Yeah, we agree with you.
Yeah, I want to say that I also think it might be good to put out not just locally grown, but local economy. When you buy a tomato at say, Whole Foods, your money goes to the corporate offices in Madison, Wisconsin, and down to Florida where they're grown. But if you buy a tomato at the farmer's market, you're circulating money in our local economy. And with $1.5 million, as the lady said, that's I think has a significant impact on our local economy. And if we promoted that more, I think that people would see the benefits.
Agreed. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Will, I wondered if you had, you might have mentioned it and I just didn't pay attention, but have you been marketing at the university? Because that's 20,000 people and they're very interested in local food there too. And I just wanted to know if you were doing any particular sorts of advertising or trying to get university people to come to the market.
We do, we distribute materials throughout the corner district there and try to get some of the restaurants involved, and Stephanie has the Facebook page there, and that's really how the university kids market now. So what the Facebook network is we need to kind of get a couple folks who will friend each other, who will friend each other, who will friend each other, and that's how it kind of grows within that aspect there. So it'd be great if anybody knows any popular university students who could Facebook friend Stephanie and the markets on Facebook. That would be great, and that would help really grow that campaign there. But the university students also read the same publications that we advertise in as well. So we're kind of cross-marketing, so we're hitting university students and residents at the same time.
The students have asked for a special bus route, because university buses don't bring them right to the market.
What about the trolley? Doesn't the trolley?
They just have to do it straight.
Charlie's house.
It's right there.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I just graduated from the university in May, and I honestly think like the best way, it would cost like almost nothing on this end, is to find the groups at the university, the student groups that are focused on like local initiatives, sustainability. There's a bunch of environmental groups there, and if you find those groups, they're always looking for something to do, and just pass it on to them. They will do the marketing for you, and that's what they're there for. They need something to do, and then you don't have to worry about the actual marketing, and they'll take it on themselves. So I really think it's important that you open it up to the local community, because when I was a student, I know I really wasn't that in tune to that, except for the fact that I had my roommate grew up in Charlottesville, and there's a lot that I think the students miss because they think it's separate, and they don't think it's almost like there's nothing for them there because they're part of UBA, not part of the community. But if there's a way to integrate the two and to sort of bring it on the university side, I think it'd be a really good thing.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
When you look at the sales of the city market, what you see is like after October 30th, the market kind of dies down, like the sales almost become half. And the reason is because people think that the market is closed down. And could we have some kind of, we have an event marketing like budget where we could have some events in the city market, like have some kind of, hey, we have a contest of something, right? And people could come in for that event so that we could talk about the event in the marketing material. But at the same time, we're driving people to the market because, I mean, they know that there's the holiday market, they know that there's the farmer's market, but that November time period is like pretty dull actually. So if you could do something about some kind of event marketing.
Sure.
And come up with some.
And that's why we increased
or something,
asked the request for increase in budget to be able to, since, we had a budget that works okay, now we've extended the market, so now but we didn't make the appropriations on budget-wise, so now we're catching up with that in this fiscal year, which hopefully will approve by early spring. Yes, ma'am?
Another suggestion would be, because I think there's a lot of confusion, because in the early spring, the ads read April to October. And I think maybe if we just started with the advertising in April that said City Market, April to December. And then everybody, it's a real simple thing, and then if you want to juggle things in November, December, fine.
The new campaign does have that, yes, ma'am, it does have that, yes. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much for all of your comments, suggestions. My email address, real quick, if you have anything else you think of after today, is Bassett, Bassett, @charlottesville.org. Feel free to email me.
And we have his
anytime.
cards out on the table?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we've had another change in the agenda. We're gonna put Market Central up now, and then Brian's gonna talk about the task force. Sure.
Is this microphone functioning, or do I just talk? No. I just talk. Okay, well, what a segue. What a segue that was, because we do have a logo, Market Central. I'm here to talk about Market Central, and probably several of you, at least, don't really know exactly what Market Central is. So, the logo is 3 interlocking circles, and that really does explain what the point of Market Central is. Market Central tries to integrate the city, the vendors, and the community. So we're trying to represent the market to the people in the community and try and look after the interests of the farmers and make the market work better for the farmers. So just all around, that's what we're trying to do. Everyone is invited to join Market Central. Membership is only $10 a year. Our wonderful board members, and particularly Kathy Kilday, who puts out the newsletter, which many of you know, and we have a website. Just Google Market Central. It'll come up, Market Central Charlottesville, and then from there you can subscribe to the newsletter, learn about the board members. There's several board members here. Seal Gorham, the president. Kathy is the secretary and newsletter editor, and farm tour director, and sheep cook and bottle washer, all those things. I'm the treasurer. We don't have much money. It's not a very big job. I hope that will change. What else can I tell you? Are there any other board members here? There's several who are not. Laura's here, Laura Dollard, who's now on the advisory board too. Kathy Fillauer, the orchid lady, is on the board. Lynn Ehart, the lemonade lady. Anybody else have I missed? I don't think I've missed anyone else. Okay. What else is my assignment here? Please join us. We're doing all kinds of good things. You'll hear about the task force, and there's been a lot of Market Central push behind the task force. And read the newsletter. Oh, we also have spaces on opportunities on the board, opportunities to get on the inside track and learn what's going on.
And to participate. We're always looking for good ideas. As you might know, the Market Central has a booth at the market every week, and it's a great way to be on the ground, observe the market. People come up to us all the time and give us ideas about what they'd like to see at the market. One of the things that the market did last year was to conduct several surveys. We had one workshop done through the American Institute of Architecture local person, Dan Zimmerman, conducted a workshop which had architects and local planners and people interested in the market participate in, and we were able to discuss, we did a survey, and using some of the data that we collected on what people would like to see in a market, we were able to have a workshop trying to figure out how to incorporate that in a market. We also did another survey, and we were able to use some of the data collected at that to use for the criteria for the site that the task force is now working with in looking for a new site for the market. As you know, we're a totally volunteer organization, and we represent the whole community, not just vendors, but customers and the community at large, because even if people don't come to the market, a lot of people understand that it's a benefit to the entire community just because it brings people into the downtown area to shop. So we do want to represent the whole picture, the entire spectrum. We belong to two supporting organizations that helps us. One of them is the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, and through them we are learning ways to become a better organization. And we also belong to the National Farmers Market Coalition, which is a broad-based national organization that enables us to learn about best practices at markets throughout the country and to be able to implement some of the things that we learn about there at our market, or at least try to. Now, you know, one of the biggest obstacles that we've had to face for a long time is the fact that the site that we were on is temporary. And so one of the things we focused on is trying to make sure that when we move, that we will do it smartly so that we don't ever have to move again. And our temporary site has been temporary for 17 years, but we do know that eventually, with the economy getting better, that site will be sold by the city. It's owned by the city, and it will be developed. They feel that that's the best use for it. So we're just trying to help promote that when we do move, it's the last time we move, and it's going to be a smart move, and we're bringing the whole community together to try to find a solution that works for everybody. As I said, the whole community, vendors, customers, businesses, the city. So we try to represent everybody in what we do. So this year, we're having a planning session in March, and as Eileen mentioned, we have two vacant board positions. One of our board members sadly died this November. He was a great mentor for us, and we will carry on in his name. So we need to fill his position, and we have another vacancy, but we're going to have a planning session, and any member is welcome to join with us and help us figure out what we are going to do next year. We will continue to have our booth at the market. We hope to have another local food network day, which was a great day for us last year, where we had a lot of outside but connected groups represent their part in the local food network. We'll continue with our newsletter that Kathy publishes and is always open for ideas and articles and things that are of interest to the market. And one last thing that's kind of neat is 4 girls from UVA. They call themselves the Jefferson Public Citizens. It's a program that UVA sponsors that they get approval to do work that would be, and they partner with a local partner and work in connection with a local partner. And these 4 girls approached Kathy and I and wanted to do their research in partner with Market Central. And they applied for a grant, and they got a $21,000 grant to do work for us this coming season. So we will have these 4 girls that will be able to do work for us that will probably benefit not just Market Central and the market, but the task force too. So they will be, so if you see them around and they want to ask you some questions, I hope it won't be, and it won't be just you, the vendors, but they'll be working with the community too. And one of their main objectives, which will tie in with the SNAP benefits too, is that they're trying to enlarge in the whole scope of the market, who comes to the market. They're going to try to help, increase the reach of the market and get local food to everybody. So those are some of the things we're working on, and we would love to have your participation. And we look forward to it. Those are some of the things we're working on. That's what Kathy, our signature event. Yeah, Kathy.
Well, thanks.
Happy New Year to everybody. We're looking forward to seeing you all back at the market this season. And I know that when you're at the market, you're really busy selling, and it doesn't surprise me that you have some questions about what it is exactly that we did. And that's one of the reasons that we came up with this, because we want you to know what we've been up to. Because it's real easy to have your vision limited to what happens within sight of your booth. So there's a lot of things that have been going on, and I hope that as you you'll take a look at some of the things that we have done this year and some of the things that we hope to do this coming year. One of which is we're really excited about the farm tour, and I hope that everybody had an opportunity to see something about the farm tour if you didn't actually host it this year. It was actually the second year that we held it, and when we got some additional sponsorship from Whole Foods, which was really nice, and we had a wonderful contribution of marketing and design services from the CIWY group. And through both of those things, we were really able to ramp up the profile of the tour, and really, there were newspaper stories, radio interviews, print, there was all kinds of advance press about it. We sold a lot of tickets. There were 1,000 people that came out to visit 18 farms that day. And it was a really big thing. And we're looking forward to making it even better this year. When we started out looking for inviting host farmers to participate, around this time last year we sent out a mailer to all of the growers. We used database information that Stephanie had given us, and then we followed up with phone calls to everybody that was on that list. I hope that we reached everybody. If we missed you, I'm really sorry, and we don't want to miss you again if you're interested in hosting. We had 18 farms. I hope that we have room for 30 this year. If you want to do it, we will put you on the tour. So in the next couple of weeks, we will be putting together a mailing, and as long as we have a good address for you, we'll be sending that out. If you don't get it, or today you want to email me and tell me, yes, I want to host, the email address that's listed on the flyer that we handed out comes right to me. We'll make sure that you get on the list, and we will make sure that you stay in the loop for communication for it. It was a great way for vendors to really connect with their customers. I asked Susan Vidal from Brightwood Farm, who was one of our host farms last year, to say just a few words about her experiences with the tour, if you're wondering what it's like from a grower's perspective. Susan? And you had a couple of volunteers, right, from us?
And the volunteers were great. We didn't have to worry about the tickets and all that stuff because the Market Central volunteers were there. I volunteered there. It was unbelievable. It was fun. It was a good day. There's so many people there. And
did it do anything for your business at the market? Did you end up like getting more loyal customers or anything like that?
I didn't notice a huge jump right away, but I did get several calls from people who wanted to come up again to the farm and do wine tasting and stuff like that. So we did pick up a number of people that way, and that's just something we're beginning to get into. So that was kind of nice.
Well, when we look at it from Market Central's point of view, what we're trying to do is to make it as simple for you as the grower to just show off your farm. So what we tried to do, and we had a few wrinkles, and we're trying to work them out. But we tried to get a volunteer at your farm to help direct traffic, park cars, answer questions, however they could, so that the growers were available to just tour their, show people around their farm. The ticket sales, the website, our website farm tour page had 8,000 hits in the month of August. And, so that was a lot of information that got shared locally. And we had the brochures at the market, and there are a lot of brochures out there on the table today. We did have some left from last year, so in case you didn't get a chance to see it, or in case you want to imagine what your farm is going to look like when it's listed in there for this year, please feel free to grab one on your way out today and take a look at it. A lot of the website information is still up. Obviously the ticketing isn't active, but you can get an idea of the kind of thing that we're starting from, and we're looking to go good places with it. So if you're a produce grower, you will be seeing some information from us very, very shortly. The other thing I wanted to kind of plug today, and Will kind of touched a little bit on this earlier about advertising, and I, for one, tend to believe that it's not a matter of getting more people to the market. If you're behind a safe little table at the market, you don't sometimes have a concept to know how many people are actually there. And was the count done last season?
Yes.
The 2009 was it was 4,500 people on a slow, moderately fast day in May.
On one entrance, we had 4,000 come in.
Yeah. So, it's probably not a stretch to think that on any given Saturday, busy Saturday, 5,000 people come through that market. So the question becomes, how do you get them to buy your stuff? And if you really want to start developing relationships with customers, I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest ways to do it, one of the best ways to do it is Facebook and Twitter. And I'm kind of hate to almost have to say it, but it really works. It's free. It takes just a few minutes. And the city has a Facebook page set up that if you wanted to tie into that, if you start posting to it, you can start posting to it now. Jewelers that are making things, getting ready inventory for the season, start putting some pictures up there, link things, let people know that you're anticipating the season, we're looking forward to it. If you've got, John, you just had calves born last night, put some pictures of those things up there on Facebook, start generating some yeah, I know he is. But it may sound silly, but if you're really looking to bring people into you, to start, to really become connected to your product and what you have to sell and what sets you apart from the other vendors at the market, this is a great tool. And if you haven't signed up if you don't have a Facebook profile and are just kind of, don't even want to think about it, I'm happy to help you with it. I've learned a lot over the last several months, and I've really decided that it's worth the time and the energy to put into it. It doesn't take a lot of time. It could suck a lot of time if you're not careful. But with just a few minutes a week and some kind of cultivated posting and information, you can get your information to a lot of people. The Facebook page for the city of Charlottesville now has almost 2,000 followers. And the way Facebook works is, people like it and it spreads to their contacts, and it spreads everywhere. So if you're looking for a way to utilize that, I've got some handouts if you're interested in some basic information. It's kind of a good place to get going. If you want to talk with me about how to do it for your business, or just help, I don't know how to get started, I'll meet you for coffee with a laptop and we can go over some of the basics, and I promise you there is no silly questions when it comes to it. And if there's enough interest, maybe we'll do a little workshop one day or something, and I'm happy to offer that if anybody's interested. So again, the email address on the flyer that we handed out, let me know. Yes.
Kathy, is this the same Charlottesville City Market vendor website?
It has nothing to do with the website. It's on Facebook's website. It's a Facebook page. And all of that's how it's integrated with all of the market community. And like I said, 2,000 followers on it. We sold 6% of our farm tour tickets this year came from people who heard about it for the first time on Facebook. And it's nothing to be sneezed at, and it's free, and it's once you kind of get over a couple of the hurdles, it's easy. Judy mentioned earlier about the gift certificates. We've kind of been talking a little bit about offering gift certificates with the tokens. Market Central, I think, was going to be doing a little gift card. We'll have to coordinate with JABA about how we handle it, but I think we'll have those available starting the first of the market season. I heard somebody earlier mention about the slower markets in November and December. The last market in December, I had somebody make a fantastic suggestion about a holiday event, and it's been in the back of my mind ever since. And there are lots of things that I think Market Central could do to help publicize the market, maybe bring people there in times when when you need more people there. Is there another?
But I feel like there might be a little bit, you guys focus primarily on the Saturday market, is that true? Because I didn't sense there was like a real, kind of a busy market, like the city market, and then there's a lot of focus on Saturday, which rightfully so, that has a lot of income. But
It has less, for me anyway, it has less to do with the income and the people than it does time, because my work schedule doesn't allow me to attend the midday markets. But and we invest a lot of our time in being at the city market because there's so many more people there.
But even the website, like, the vendors are, like, the profiles of farms is just, from what I can see, Saturday vendors.
Because they're the ones that have sent it to me. Okay. So if there are vendors here thank you for bringing that up.
That would be maybe good to show the different vendors in 3 different markets. Or
Is there a tremendous amount of overlap with? Are there some that just vend during the week and not on Saturdays? Okay. Well, we can.
That was the intention for the midweek markets.
Okay.
I can't get everyone in Saturday.
So that's something that we can fix on our website, and I'm using the winter to do a lot of revamping in there. And again, that email address it will come straight to me, and I can build it. And if you have photos or a link for your own site, I'll be happy to get that information in there. But I'm totally reliant on what people send to me.
I could be wrong, it's really more of a question, but can the vendors post on the Facebook page for, you can't post, it has to come from the office. You can post, through what means? Because you go ahead, tell me.
On the Facebook page.
Yeah. But I like it.
At one point, there was an administrative setting on there that didn't allow it.
Right.
But that's been changed.
Okay. Because I was commenting on another post to be able to say what I wanted to say before.
Right.
But now I can post.
Right. And one of the things that I've talked with Stephanie about, trying to really funnel some organization of traffic and message to that Facebook page, is if every week there was an administrative post from the market manager, and Stephanie and I talked about this, saying, tomorrow, whatever is going to happen at the market tomorrow, every vendor who wants to can post under that comment.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be there tomorrow, and by the way, if you have any extra egg cartons, we're getting low, bring them in.
Right.
Donut guy's not going to be here. We're going to have such and such tomorrow. Strawberries or asparagus is running low, get there early. Any of those comments will run in one continuous feed on that, so that the 2,000 people that follow it will see all of those things.
That I know, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, say we wanted to post something
If
directly.
you want to post it directly, you can. As long as you have liked that Facebook
Right.
page, you can do it. And that's a relatively new change. So, and one last thing, and I'm going to sit down. Something occurred to me this morning. I'm trying to think of content to post on Facebook and to tweet about. And one of the things I want to do at the end of the meeting is take a big group picture of everybody that's here and post it. So before everybody runs out the door, it'll take a nanosecond, I promise you, and I just would like to get one big group picture. If you object to it, that's fine, but But if you'd like to stay, we'd love to have you in the shop, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
And as questions, bring them.
To another very successful season of all of our markets. This past October, Stephanie and I, well, primarily Stephanie, did a presentation at our National Recreation and Park Association Annual Congress in Minneapolis. And at that Congress, which is all parks and recreation professionals from around the country, way back 6-9 months ahead of the actual conference, you make a submission if you would like to do an educational session at the Congress. And it's a fairly competitive process. Stephanie put together a proposal to talk about how, at the Congress, a session about how local markets can affect the local economy. And I was actually surprised when our submission was approved. And we were able to make that presentation at the conference. It was very, very well received. There were a lot of folks there from farmers markets across the Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, Michigan. And we had an excellent conversation about how other markets run and so forth. And what we discovered were that a lot of folks actually look to us and look to Charlottesville about how markets are run and how they can do things better. And we all kind of, because we're into it every day, we kind of see more of the warts and scars about what happens. But I just wanted to share with you that there are a lot of folks around the country that are looking to us for guidance. So, and Stephanie did a great job at that conference. She really, really did. And I thank her for everything she does. I wanted to give everybody an update and kind of walk everybody through the process of the City Market Task Force. This past November, City Council held a work session to talk about the future of the market, primarily the Saturday market. And there were a lot of folks there and a lot of ideas. One of the primary recommendations that came out of the work session was for a task force to be created that would look at and finally make a recommendation to City Council about where a permanent location for the market would be. Council agreed to that, and we worked for the next several weeks to identify some folks kind of across the spectrum who could sit on the task force to work through that and make those recommendations. There are several task force members here. If you're on the task force, would you stand up? I don't recognize everybody. Cecile and Dan Zimmerman are on the task force representing Market Central. We have several vendors that are on the group, as well as some interested citizens, and a couple of folks that aren't customers. And they've been able to give us a really unique perspective about why they don't come to the market and what we can do to make the market more attractive. In the first meeting in January, what we spent a long time doing was talking through what you have in front of you. In order to make a reasonable determination about where can the market go, we had to have some criteria by which we would evaluate locations. And we threw a whole bunch of stuff on the wall and were able to agree on the definitions of those criteria. And that's what you have in front of you. And then the task force took those criteria and ranked them in order of importance, so that when we go to look at locations, everybody's working off the same page, same sheet of music, and identifying, okay, what is the most important criteria, and does this location meet that or not meet it? Is it easy to accomplish or next to impossible to accomplish? And as a part of that ranking, those criteria are ranked in priority order on the page in front of you. And the number one criteria was permanence. And that's defined as a location where the market and its associated improvements to support the market may remain without interruption for a minimum of 30 years or permanently.
What's the 109 points mean after? Does that mean 10, between 10 and 9? Is that what that means?
I was just about to explain that. That's okay. When the task force members ranked each of these items, they ranked them 1 through 10. If somebody gave something, ranked it number 1, it was given 10 points. If they ranked it number 10, it got 1 point. So the number of points associated is what those rankings actually came out to be. So permanence was number 1, vendor access second, vehicular access and parking third, topography and ADA accessibility next, visibility came after that. Ironically, close to downtown was not in the top 2, 3, or 4. Pedestrian access, provide for flexibility, and what provide for flexibility means to be able to expand the market, contract the market, adapt for other activities. Maybe the market location is used for something other than the market when the market isn't happening, other days during the week. Close to transit and to minimize user conflicts of things that may be nearby. These criteria have on the opposite side of the page, there were some other things that really didn't, people were desirous of, but didn't really get to the characteristic of the site itself. The potential for restrooms, structured shelters, wide walking aisles was important to folks. I think that's probably a frame of reference from kind of how compact the current market is, and the potential for seating, like where somebody could buy a product, go sit down under an umbrella, enjoy it, and have a seat. And then some infrastructure issues. If the market is looked at, if we're looking at going to a location that is privately held, piece of private property, the cost and length of a potential lease on that property is a consideration, and then the ability to have running water and electricity available for vendors. So these were ranked as well in priority order. The amenities, if somebody ranked it first, it got 7, then 5, then 3, then 1, just to kind of create some stratification there. And the infrastructure was, if you ranked it first, it was 5, then 3, then 1. So these criteria have been agreed upon by the task force, and these are the things that are going to guide the evaluations of potential locations. And at the work session, a whole bunch of, I think there were probably 20 or 25 locations were mentioned. Some of them were really feasible. Some of them are very feasible. And what we did was take the universe of all of those locations and just dump them in a bucket, and then begin the process of, now that we have these criteria, which of these potential locations really don't work. And what we've come to are, at this point, 13 different spots that are going to be evaluated by the task force based upon these criteria. The task force members yesterday afternoon were provided with a ratings matrix for each location based upon the physical characteristics, and on a rating scale of 5 things. The lowest meaning it's impossible, difficult to, it's just not going to happen, it's impossible to achieve. It could be achieved with, it's difficult, it's going to require some work. Kind of a medium range, yeah, we can do it but it's going to really require some work. A little bit of work is required, or it's easily achievable for each of the locations based upon each of these criteria. And each task force member has been assigned one location to go look at, so that all 12 or 13 of the task force members don't have to go to 12 or 13 locations. That was a recommendation of one of the task force members last week, and a very, very good one. I want to go through what the locations are for you. Some of these locations are private property. We have not had conversations with those landowners. I've been approached in the last month by a number of different landowners who are interested in hosting the market. Some of them, frankly, see dollar signs and are really saying, well, I could host the market for a period of time, make some money off of it, and that sort of thing. But those locations I have not mentioned to the task force because they are, some of them are on the list just because people have offered them up already. But other ones really are just not feasible in the long, long run. The whole point of this exercise, and it's evidenced by the priority that was given to permanence. Permanence really is what this whole effort is really about. The locations are the Amtrak parking lot. They're on West Main Street. It's privately held. It's the gravel lot there by the train station. 310 Avon Street, which is just across the Belmont Bridge here, the area that was an old barn building that was torn down, that spot. One of the parking lots at Charlottesville High School, the lot that's closest to Melbourne Road. If you turn into the high school off of Melbourne Road, the parking lot that is immediately to your right. What's commonly known as the Circus Grounds, which is down off High Street along the Ravenna River. It's a big wide open area. The Ravenna Trail goes through there. It's also privately held. The parking lots at the Charlottesville Tire Center, which is on West Main Street, just west of the railroad tracks on your right as you're going toward the university. The county office building, I know we talked about that location a lot a year ago. There are some folks that still think we need to evaluate it and see where it falls within the ranking criteria. Court Square, the areas of Jackson Park, the surrounding streets, the bricked area of Court Square, and kind of coming over in front of the county courthouse. An area at the Ix building on Monticello Avenue. If you haven't seen that recently, all those the oldest part of the buildings have all been demolished. Not the entire site hasn't been demolished, but most of the older buildings have been. Garrett Street, an area of Garrett Street coming from, I think it's 3rd Street, there in front of the Water Street Garage, kind of coming up almost adjacent to the existing Water Street location, and then using the streets themselves as the market location. The Jefferson School, which is about to go under a major renovation into the Jefferson School City Center. A new parking deck is going to be constructed there. The Carver Recreation Center, which we operate, will be renovated. JABA will have a cafe and some other programs going on there, and there's a bunch of other tenants in that building. If you're interested, there's a display and kind of a show at the Community Design Center here next door to us about that whole project that opened last night. So if you're interested in that, you can go see it. That's one location that's being considered. The Martha Jefferson Hospital here downtown. When the hospital vacates and moves to Pantops, there's potential for that location. The hospital's indicated that they're not going to tear down the buildings. They're going to reuse them in some way, shape, or form, or rent them out. I'm not sure of all the details of that, but that's another location. The Staples parking lot, they're on 4th Street between Ridge McIntyre and 4th. The existing Water Street lot, where the market currently is today, will be also evaluated. And lastly, the east side of McIntyre Park. The area between the railroad and Park Street and the bypass on the south side and Melbourne Road on the north side, where the McIntyre Golf Course is currently. That area is about 75 acres in total. The current market location is less than Those are the locations that are going to be 0.83 acres at the existing Water Street location. So those are the locations that are going to be evaluated over the next couple of weeks. Here, the latter part of February, the task force will get back together, and we will go through the process of tabulating all of those evaluations and narrow the field down to 2 or 3 locations that at that point we can really look at seriously and make determinations on what kind of infrastructure may be required, what kind of approaches to private landowners may be required. How do we actually make this happen, and what is the time frame by which it can happen? All indications are that we probably have 2 more years at the current location. After that, we really need to be prepared. So we want to take timing into consideration.
We're going to do this quickly.
As far as the decision-making process is concerned. And we're going to do this quickly. Council basically gave us 90 days to do this. So we will be going back to them in the early part of April to make a recommendation on 1, 2, or 3 locations to have the market. Hopefully, at least it's my hope, that the task force can come to unanimity and consensus on 1 location, and that we can then begin the process of pursuing that vigorously and put the issue of permanence, where the city market permanently is going to be, put that issue to bed once and for all. Yes, sir.
Mike, do you feel that just not a good objective view of all? I mean, what I would think that you'd want all task force members to visit all sites.
We are going to do that. Folks are going to visit all of the locations, but in terms of really taking the time to think through and evaluate that location for each of the criteria, we didn't feel like we had enough time to do that, and that we'd give one person one location to really sink their teeth into, and that way and they will make a presentation to the task force, and where people can ask questions and so forth, and get that going. We didn't want it to take months and months and months. Did Dan want to?
I was going to clarify that we were asked to look at all sites, evaluate all sites, but to look at one in particular and present back to the task force.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, do you know, once the Meadow Creek Parkway happens in the park, does the city have plans, tying into your last choice, do they have plans of doing other things that might impact the decision about that location? Just curious.
We want to initiate a master planning process for the east side of McIntyre Park, and we will probably get that started later this year. And that master plan, we have an adopted park master planning process in the city. It's on our website if you're interested, but it's a very precise method by which we go through the process of master planning the park. And park master planning is not design. It is really decisions about how land is managed and used, and how certain parks, what does the community desire in a park, and where will it go, but we're not going to draw exactly how it will look. We would have an athletic field here, or a picnic shelter here, or natural resource area here, managed conservation area there, that sort of thing. And should McIntyre be a choice coming out of the task force, we would inject that into the master planning process for the east side of the park. Yes?
Who are the citizens that are a part of this task force? Is there a published list of the task force anywhere?
And I'll just read you the names. Judy Berger, who was here earlier. Sherry Lewis is a citizen, lives downtown. She's we considered a customer. Diane Wilson is also lives downtown. Somebody we consider a customer. Dave Fafara, Shenandoah Joe's Coffee. Cecile and Dan from Market Central. Kate Collier, who is a vendor and the owner of Feast over there on West Main Street. Jason McLeod, who is a vendor at the market. Stephanie Myers, who's a vendor and a farmer at the market. Jeffrey Plank, who is an architect at the university and did the bulk of the planning and putting together the Scottsville Farmers Market. Gary Okerlund, who is a customer and was involved in some of the design work for the Water Street kind of redevelopment design thing a couple, 3 years ago. And then Karen Waters, who is the head of the Quality Community Council. They're the ones who put together and manage the urban farm here downtown. And she's who, and she'll admit, is not a market customer. And she's given us a really good perspective. So those are the folks. Yes.
So I'm curious if, as this market grows and it's, the money it brings in grows, if we couldn't find another place for it, whether that would be part of the council's decision on maybe retaining that spot in their future plans to use that spot, recognizing its value to the community, much greater than its development value of that lot.
That is a political decision, frankly. It's estimated that the potential annual tax revenue from a redeveloped lot here is in excess of $1 million annually. The revenues to the city from the market are less than $100,000 annually. The total gross revenues brought in by the markets is the $1.5 million figure, but that is the number that is actually the vendors are receiving. So, that is the delicate decision. And could council decide, we want to keep the market in its current location based upon the task force recommendations? They could do that. We also could potentially have the opportunity to get something in a different location that's much more permanent, that meets vendors' needs better, and could be purpose-built.
The figure you just mentioned, does that quote the parking fees too, or is that just what the market pays for that?
That is just market revenues, that is not parking fees. In fact, I'm not even sure what those parking revenues are.
Has there been any studies to see what additional revenues that the market being in its location brings, say, to the downtown mall or to other businesses around?
There have been some studies, I'm not sure what the results of those have been, but I think something was done several years ago. I don't know if, Kathy, do you?
We can put those Jefferson Public citizens on that one.
That's a good idea.
I do know too that the Piedmont Environmental Council has an intern that's doing some anecdotal research. I don't know how qualitative it's going to be for your purposes, but at least to kind of survey some of the downtown businesses, and she's working on that now.
There was a question over here. Oh, I'm sorry.
This first one that's most important mentions 30 years. I'm thinking of in 30 years how huge this market will be. Is there any figure on how many acres they're looking for here, sheer acres for the market, not the parking, just the market, considering these different sites?
We didn't put a arbitrary figure on acreage for potential location. And there's been some talk. Oh, minimum? I think at a minimum we need an acre, at a bare minimum. And preferably two.
What's the acreage we have now?
It's 0.83. It's less than 1 acre.
So to increase it 2/10 of an acre would not be a big increase.
No, ma'am.
And at the rate it's growing, and they're growing all over the country.
Mhm.
You wouldn't even cover parking.
Right.
This one is just selling, but still, I think, never mind 30 years, even 5 years.
I guess,
Good, I think these markets, I hear all over the country. So, should there be a minimum acreage requirement when
Well, we're going to evaluate the sites that we have on the list, and that is a consideration, particularly when it comes to flexibility and growth down the road. If you look at some of the amenity desires for structured shelters or places for folks to sit and those kinds of things, they have to be considered in our site selection process. I mean, we have 200 on the waiting list? Over 200 vendors on our waiting lists to get into these markets. And it's
it doesn't seem, it seems inadequate.
okay.
And the other question I had was, is anyone at the university going to test?
Yes, ma'am. Good. Questions here?
yeah, it seems to be that there might be a problem here with the law of diminishing returns. After you get so many people in that market, then it hurts everybody. And that needs to be taken into consideration. And really, the second thing on here is what the customers kind of want. We really don't have much facilities down on that parking lot at all. The vendors bring pretty much everything, but we're all pretty happy there because there are customers there. I mean, you mentioned the fact of Scottsville. Scottsville has a nice little pavilion there, a lousy market. And Nelson County, same thing, it got a nice pavilion, but not near the market. So it has to be, customers have to be taken into consideration more so than even the vendors.
We understand that.
Okay.
We very much so.
Well, it's not mentioned on here, it's permanence, it's mentioned like the fifth thing down.
Yes, sir.
I was just thinking that the same line, it's probably more important. I don't know, permanence doesn't mean much to me, but people coming to my sale does. And I can't possibly think of how you have 200 more vendors waiting and you're even considering an acre or even 8 tenths. I mean, that's sort of, or possibly maybe we should have another day, a Sunday market, But this idea for a grower that loves dirt, this idea of having it in here in the pavement is not my, no. Sorry.
Understand.
I think we can say that if we say we let everybody in, 200 more vendors, and we spread this thing out so thin, people aren't going to make the loop around the whole thing. You have to consider the size, and people can get around that thing a couple of times and see some people they know, and then they can get out. Whereas
we understand that very clearly, and the task force has discussed this, that there is a law of diminishing returns. When we were in Minneapolis last fall, I went to the Mall of America. Has anybody been there? I mean, it was total sensory overload. I walked, like, there's 4 levels to the thing. There's an amusement park in the center. I got around one loop, halfway around another one, and I was done. I mean, I'm like, I gotta go. It was just too much. And we totally understand that there needs to be a, quote, cap on the number of stalls at a market in order to make it vibrant. And that what we tried to do last year was to create, we did expand the market on Saturday, another 15 or 16 spots, but we also created a new one in order to meet the demand that we have from vendors. I mean, farmers markets in the last 10 years across the country, the number of them has gone up over 200%. I mean, it has trebled since the year 2000. So the demand is there. When I'm trying to speak to the demand and the number of folks that are trying to get in, is we need to take all of that stuff into consideration too. Yes, ma'am.
I understand your feeling about the Mall of America, but I went to the San Francisco Farmers Market and I felt like I landed in heaven. And it goes on and on and on. And it's enormous. It's fabulous. I'd like to know where you get this.
The population of San Francisco is 10 times.
I don't know if these caps on sizes is anything that's been studied, but I'm totally bewildered that you're planning on a space that's 20% larger than the space we have now.
We're not
turning down hundreds of vendors, and you think that's okay? I don't get it.
That's not what I said, and that's not our intention at all. I was trying to draw some comparisons and give folks a frame of reference. The existing location is 0.83 acres. The other locations vary widely from 1 acre to unlimited in the case of McIntyre Park. Others are 4 and 5 acres.
Didn't you say that you're looking for 1 acre? Why is that your minimum when you're turning away 100 vendors?
Well, the locations that we have that we're looking at, many of them are plus or minus an acre to an acre and a half.
Why is that okay?
It is what it is. Those are the locations that we have within the city limits that potentially could be used could be for a market. So, I mean, if we were looking at the universe of the region of Central Virginia, it's a totally different conversation.
It's okay because you want to have a crowded market. You know, when the market's slow, it's slow and it gets slower for everybody. And I could say that being on that side street, which is really nice to have opened up, because it did let more people in, but it's just a little slower down there. And there's, like he's saying, it's a vibrancy effect, like a crowded coffee shop is a crowded coffee shop. And people still go.
And doubling vendor space doesn't mean people are going to spend twice as much money. So it would affect everyone's bottom line.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think ultimately, at the end of the day, the ultimate arbiter of who's going to be vending at the market is still going to be Stephanie, right? Like, even if we have more space, Stephanie is still going to be making sure that the vendors that are going to be vending in that space are fulfilling the same pretty rigorous standards of excellence in their products that she is holding all of us to at this point.
That's correct.
And so
I wouldn't say just Stephanie. I mean, it's our staff and the policies, procedures that we have. So.
Right, but it wouldn't be like we just opened the floodgates and everyone who wanted to show up could show up once we had enough space. I think we need to maintain focus on, if we have more space to have more vendors, we're going to maintain the excellence of our market and the excellence of our vendors.
Yes?
I think if you kind of get outside of where we are now, the growth potential should be more in the parking and accessibility than the number of vendors.
Okay, that's a good comment.
Yeah, one of the things when reading these lists and hearing people talk is that there's an element of market I think we miss, but what makes our market very successful, especially over the years, is I notice there's a lot of socialization going on. People meet. I see people running into each other at the market a lot. And I think that needs to be incorporated into whatever design we have is to keeping that aspect of sociability. Because I think the market has now become a place to be seen, a place to meet your friends, a place to go in between taking your kids to soccer and in the morning. And I think that when people come to the market and they have that extra thing, not just there to shop, they spend more time there. And when people spend more time in stores, studies have shown that they spend more. So finding a way and making sure the criteria is a place where people want to be, want to spend more time, want to see their friends, they're more likely to hang out, they're more likely to shop and even make impulse buys.
Yeah, agreed. And I think once we get down to narrowing down a location and begin then at that point the process of how is the market structured and how the stalls are, that's a primary consideration.
This is probably a question for Stephanie, but put the waiting list in perspective. Can you tell us what the vendor turnover is like on a yearly basis?
I don't lose a lot of vendors, which is part of the problem. I've actually got people trying to will their spaces to other people. So,
yes, sir.
What would be the outcome if the task force decided that the present location would be the best location?
That would be the outcome of the task force, and that'd be the recommendation they'd make to council.
Just a question, are the women who have the grant to help broaden the audience or the possible customer base, are they part of this conversation?
Are you referring to the folks that...
Yeah.
Yes, they've been to the meeting. They were at the last meeting, actually, yes.
Okay. Because, I mean, one thing, we don't have the population of San Francisco, but it would be nice to get a wider spectrum, a wider demographic coming to the market, which would then make sense if we have different kinds of vendors and different value price points.
I was looking at some census data yesterday, and the population of Albemarle County and Charlottesville combined is approximately 135,000 for those two jurisdictions.
147,000 and 48 the last.
I'm sorry?
147,000 and 48 the last census. Exactly. It's possible more people, but this is the number we have officially.
Yeah. And 5,000 to 6,000 people are coming to the market every Saturday. It's pretty powerful.
And that's because of the location, right? It's right in the city. Right in the downtown mall.
I mean, I think that's a subjective argument, actually. Honestly, I think people are coming to the market because they want to see the vendors and who's there, not necessarily because of where it is.
So have you done, as part of your task force, have you done any kind of study where you ask people why they come to the market? You know that the Red Dot survey, the Market Central, what was the result of that? What did people say?
Well, I will let Market Central speak to the results of the survey. What I remember reading were people came to the market for a variety of reasons. One of them was what this gentleman just mentioned, was the social aspect of it.
Right, yeah.
Others came to the market specifically because they were committed to buying local food, or folks wanted organic produce, or there were specific vendors at the market that they wanted to see.
Yeah.
And it's something that we do on a Saturday.
Right.
The large majority of customers do not walk, they drive to the market.
Yes. Yes.
So that is a consideration that we have to, something we have to consider in the evaluation of decisions.
I can tell you a little of one of the things that came out of that DOT survey. We had one question at the market that day was, do you do anything else downtown while you're at the market? And there were three answers to that question. One was, nope, I'm just here for the market. One, maybe not today, but sometimes I do. And all the time, I go to other places, I do lots of things while I'm downtown. And it was interesting, we left that sheet up throughout the day. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, but it dawned on me through the course of the day, between 7 and 8:30, that whole top sheet was full of dots.
Yes.
There's nothing else open. And as the day went on, it spread out equally all across that sheet. So it depends a lot on, you have your early morning dedicated shoppers who go to the market, get out, and they're done. But you have
early in the morning.
and then you have families with children. The strollers start coming in about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So there's very different populations at different times of the day, and I'm sure that's not a surprise to you. But that was what so at the end of the day, the results for that were very evenly distributed. But if we had taken those samples at different times of the day, we would have gotten very different responses.
Right.
Hey, Brian. Amanda has been raising her hand for a long time.
Well, I just want to know if this spot is just, if we're looking to just replace the Saturday market spot,
or this is the place that you would also use at other times during the week? Or would you continue to use the other spaces you already have at other times during the week?
That's a really good question. Did everybody hear that
Yes.
question? We have the other midweek markets where we have them because that's where we can have them currently. Let's say that the final location that's recommended has the opportunity to host markets multiple days. We seriously want to consider
I
that.
think that would help us with the thing and help us not go over that vendor-customer ratio that is so important to me.
Right. If the location that's ultimately settled upon does not provide the flexibility for us to have additional markets during the week, at that particular spot, whatever it is, we will continue to host the markets at Meade and Penn. Dan?
That very issue came up in the meeting, in our past meeting last week, and I don't know how to get the answer. I'm here, but I'd be pretty curious to just get a feeling from vendors, whether if they prefer having one site that can have multiple days, or whether multiple sites are okay. And because I think that does address or come to the issue of growth and the number of vendors that are waiting, and so that's been part of the reason for adding markets to do that. It definitely came up in discussion. No consensus on our task force at all. Any input, appreciate it. I don't know.
On a full Saturday, midsummer, what's the max vendors that are there? How many vendors in total?
116.
And would, if there was expansion, would the ratios from farmers and craft people and food people stay relatively the same?
I would think so, yes. Mhm. Well, let me get back to this question. I mean, and Dan's query. What do folks think about that? I mean, would you vend multiple days a week? Or just be at one day a week? Yes.
I think that question needs to be expanded a little bit more, and in the different markets, so we're targeting different areas of town, and different types of people, or are we gonna look for a more central location that is accessible or easily accessible to everyone?
Okay.
I think we need to look at the experience of other markets around the state. Fairfax has 3 markets on Saturday. All do well.
Yes.
You know, but they're different locations. You know, they also have a waiting list that's unbelievable. You know, they monitor what goes in there very, very carefully. So when you get in, you're there to make money. If you don't abide by the rules, they throw you out in a heartbeat.
Fairfax County's huge.
Yeah, 1.2 million people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I grow and sell flowers, and I've been to probably most markets in the surrounding area, and the only market I could actually find people who buy flowers is in any quantity, is the Charlottesville market where it's at. And so when I hear us talk about moving it, I do get concerned, because I think that we may get the same number of customers, but they may be a different type of customer, and they may not buy my product. And so it does worry me when I hear us talk about moving, and because it seems like, where we're at is growing, it works. And, I drive around Charlottesville a lot, so I know the various different locations, and I don't see that centralization. And when I hear you say what's objective of whether or not people, hang out in the mall, whether they're shopping or not, is I walk down the mall on market days, and I see the people who are at the market on the mall. And I'm wondering, would that be true if we were, say, up at the county place, or we're at this other lot, or at this other lot? And so I do feel that, I have a lot of concerns. And I have a lot of because I sell flowers, and so if we do move, I am concerned.
It also depends on what you're selling. Sometimes I walk onto these bagels, and you go into higher, what's it called? Cubano, and it's packed in there eating breakfast. And there's a lot of breakfast being served at the city market. Those are not the vendors. Those are not our customers. They're eating there, and then they're coming and they're buying your flowers. So it really depends on who you are and what you vend, I think, and the location. relocation. So, but flowers, I mean, everybody loves flowers. I can't imagine moving into another location. You wouldn't get people buying
In
flowers.
the county, they grow their own.
In the county, they grow their own?
Yeah, you sell plants, in the rural markets, you sell plants. You don't sell flowers.
I see a difference in the midweek markets as far as flowers. They don't buy them at Mead Avenue.
Do you think it's because they're having a
tried it.
party that night? They use to decorate the table because they're having a dinner
It's
party?
just, it's a different population.
Yeah.
It is a whole different
Right.
population that comes to that market.
In the interest of time, because I do want to honor everybody's time today, let me take a couple more comments and then I'm going to wrap this up. Yes, ma'am.
And just in that conversation right there, that shows that, as Stephanie said, the three different markets in three different places serve three different demographics, basically. So it wouldn't make any sense to make everybody go to the same place every
point.
I mean, that would defeat purpose. I mean, you could add another market or something. I mean, if you have a place where you go all the time, you could keep one there, but also still have the ones that be in Penn Park. Because there are people out in Penn Park who aren't going to drive all the way in to come to the city market on Saturday morning. It's kind of a long trek. I never go out there, so why would they come in here? I mean,
They do.
yeah, but they do, but I don't think they would come in the same droves as they do on
You've
Saturday.
never had a market at the location the city market is on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you don't know what would happen if you had one there.
How does it work?
Very hard to say.
That's a good point. Yes.
I do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Tuesday and Wednesday, 90% of those customers refuse to go to the Saturday market. So Tuesday and Wednesday, like say having separate locations is a great idea. If you consolidate to one area, you lose those customers. You wouldn't have the same customer client base that you rely on. So Tuesday and Wednesday, I ask all my customers, this market's over, come out on Saturday. Absolutely not. They refuse to come out on Saturday.
Because
Because park.
You have to do it like, the parking and all that craziness of Saturdays. That's why a lot of them, what I find great about Tuesday, that's why. So just, if you got a different location, it's hard to know, or better parking, better usability, that kind of thing. They might, actually might count on Tuesday.
Yes, sir. One other thing, we keep talking about Shaw from Albemarle. I have a lot of customers that are from Nelson, Louisiana, Louisa. We need to consider what the area that we're drawing from, not just Charlottesville and Albemarle.
Understood.
We get people from Richmond.
Yeah, we got, I sell a lot to people out of state. I'm selling going to New York, Louisiana, Georgia. And so, and I think the university and whatever they come in here for. Well, I mean, that's great, but we have to look at what's the area that we are growing people from.
What's another comment? Yes.
Comment on the 200 new applicants, I being one of them. Personally, it would be amazing for me to get, Saturday market. But, I'd be blessed with any one of the weekly markets, and I don't know if you're taking that into consideration when dealing with these 200 new applicants, as far as preference of day, that they would see themselves being, to serve in the community.
Okay, let's put that under.
One application.
I'm sorry?
Having like one application that they can say, these are the markets that I'd like to rank them maybe. So instead of the market and farm. I'm also one of the 200 city markets.
Well, the application currently indicates, please indicate where you want to be. Should have.
A tag on there. I'm also one of the 200 on the waiting list and a grower in the Richmond area. Any possibility, or what are the pros and cons on a Sunday market? I'm sure this has already been discussed, but just so that I hear them.
We've talked about it sort of just as an aside. We really haven't put any thought into that. It's come up in the task force meetings.
They're huge. DuPont Circle's the largest in the country on a Sunday, I believe. Baltimore's very successful. Just an idea.
Yes.
There's no preference on.
There's not. Okay.
No,
So
that was taken out.
just indicate that was.
Yeah.
Remember I used to ask, are you interested in the holiday market? Are you
Yes,
interested?
yes.
Yes, that was proven.
One
I
more.
have one question that's sort of connected. We added an hour, I know we lost an hour in the morning for the November market. Has there been any conversation about adding an hour? Because all of a sudden, in the last 2 years, I've noticed people really start coming at noon. And they're like, can I buy something? I've made sales, while I'm packing up now. Could we add an hour, or is that going to make the city lose it?
I would say, I don't remember how many years ago.
Yeah, we voted on it.
I called every single
But it
vendor.
hadn't been
And the
implemented
answer was
until
no.
just recently to do it. Yeah, it's just started though. I mean, I've just noticed in the last couple of years, like 2 years, that there really are people that are.
See, I've noticed it for many years.
Really? Okay.
Which is why we're so funny about people leaving at noon, because there's tons of customers.
Oh, they're still, yeah, when
Yeah.
I'm leaving, people still come.
Yeah. So we're still okay just hanging out till the one if they were slow. Good. Just checking.
That doesn't really go all the way through. I mean, in the winter market, the bell rings, so.
And your flowers aren't looking really good. Give them away because you live.
Yes, ma'am, last comment. I'm sorry?
Going back to the acreage thing, which was bothering somebody said that the market was too big and wouldn't do any good and wouldn't sell it. And we were lucky enough to be offered 2 pieces of property, one on the west side of town, one on the east side. And they weren't very big, and we didn't take them on the vendors. And we would serve 2 still large communities. And Saturday, I think, is the prime shopping day for most people work Monday through Friday. And one could be morning, one could be afternoon, but people would have a choice. They could, if they live in the west side of town, they could shop there. If they shop morning, they could go to the market and do that. So it would give more flexibility. But we would have to have property, which would be 2 market.
That's an interesting notion. We'll see where things fall out.
It wouldn't have to be as big, and they could accommodate more customers and I think would have more parking local because the streets would be congested.
It's an interesting notion. It's an interesting notion.
Well, it just occurred to me because of the comments that are coming out.
Okay. Like I said, the process by which the task force is going through, we're evaluating the locations right now. We'll be meeting at the next to last week of February to kind of discuss the site evaluations and then move forward from there with a recommendation to council, hopefully probably mid to late April after the budget's approved.
One last thing about the relationship between the downtown mall and keeping it alive. Farmers Market is a destination location. People are coming from all around, people that live in here, all around the town, Charlottesville, the city. That it's a destination thing too. It's becoming a social event to be there, and that it does help the merchants that make it all alive. And I think that's really important. In considering 2 different east-west or whatever, is that and that is a major destination for people on Saturday.
I have a number of friends who are downtown vendors who come on Saturdays for their business just to get people to the market. And as a consumer, that's what I'm that's what people do. I know all these people at least, I'm sure there's a lot more that I see every Saturday. And specifically like this.
Okay.
Hey, before, if you're gonna wrap up.
Kathy's got her
Stephanie,
camera.
I just want to close it up.
Are you done?
I am. I think Stephanie had a couple of closing items.
Okay, no, okay, never mind. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you very soon. If you, typically I try to do a non-reserved talk at the end, but what I'll do is Lucy and I will be here to talk to any vendors who want to talk to us about non-reserve vending. Is that okay? All
If
right.
you have an application with you that you have finished, as you go out this door, below the table, there is a gray bucket. You're welcome to put your application in that, if you don't get it to us.
And we need a
Anybody
class
want to stand
picture.
and wave? Now's your chance. Say hello. Come on, folks. They're going to be looking forward to seeing you. Hello, hello.
Michael, you're going the wrong way.
Seriously, stand up, squish together. Please.
I don't know if we can get in.
We can get pretty much everybody in there. This might be the only time it happens. Hey, somebody stand in front of those 3 empty seats right there in the front. Please.
Come over here.
Lucy will like.
All right, everybody. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, another one. I want people to wave, please. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. All right. So if you look for it on Facebook, it'll be there to show you.
Who is this? Hi, he looks familiar. I know that name. I didn't know how to spell your question.
Give you babies a hug.